Without a doubt, we live in difficult times. And it's in times like this that we need inspiration. We need God to speak to us and reaffirm the purpose of life, humanity, the purpose of our very life. Why are we alive now, and why should we get out of bed today? And the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes, written by King Solomon, the preacher, the son of David, gives us the meaning of life. Let's delve into it together. Chapter Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. It says this: Then I look again at all the acts of oppression which were being done under the sun, and behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, and that they had no one to comfort them, and on the side of their oppressors was power, but they had no one to comfort them. So I congratulated the dead who are already dead more than the living who are still living. But better off than both of them is the one who has never existed, who has never seen the evil activity that is done under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. Now the context and flow changes in chapter 4, right? After considering the surrounding locations and activities, life is monotonous, chapter 1, but in the courtroom, chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, at the workplace, chapter 4, verses 4 through 8, and on the roadway, chapter 4, verses 9 through 12, and in the palace, chapter 4, verses 13 through 16, all life is futile. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 1 through 3 declares harshness on justice. Life is not fair, justice is rare. With terms like, quote, the acts of oppression and tears of the oppressed and the side of their oppressors, end quote. The first paragraph seems to set the scene as justice, the courtroom, the legal system, or, whatever legal law system we may be experiencing. So in the scope of justice, law, and legality, the preacher says they have no one to comfort them, verse 1. And it is better to be dead than alive, verse 2. Or even better, never to have existed, verse 3. What a strong view. So if you are the victim or the perpetrator among humanity, regardless of government or legal system, there is no real tangible justice. No justice exists because the guilty go free and the victim suffers. Whether in law courts or court of public opinion or social media, justice among humanity is illusionary. It's like a mythological creature of fantasy. If you spend your precious and short life, if you spend your time searching for justice, you will have wasted it. Justice among us is only evil activity that is done under the sun. What's the good news? The good news is that our God is a God of justice. The only justice, right and correct and measured, is found in the court of God, where the rebellious, wicked will be found guilty and will suffer the cost of their rebellion, wickedness, and iniquity. God is the only source of justice. Only God is right. Only God is correct. Only God is measured. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 17, remember? 3:17 says, God will judge both the righteous man and the wicked man. We want justice for our others, but for ourselves, we want grace and mercy, right? And in his justice, God offers grace. Another idea of grace is free favor. In his justice, God offers mercy. Mercy is not receiving the punishment that is earned. So grace is free favor. Mercy is not getting the punishment you have earned. So let us run to God for his justice, his grace, his mercy, and his compassion. As Isaiah chapter 3, verse 18 says, Isaiah 3:18 says, quote, therefore the Lord longs to be gracious to you, and therefore he waits on high to have compassion on you. For the Lord is a God of justice. How blessed are all those who long for him. Isaiah chapter 3, verse 18. Right? Amen? The good news is God. This topic is incredibly important, and we need time to think about the purpose of our individual lives. Why do I exist? And how can I make the most of the time that God has given me? If you're interested in delving into Ecclesiastes deeper, then I wrote a book in 2018. It's 50 pages. It's $1.98 on Amazon. It's for a Kindle, an e-reader, and it's called Search for Significance, an examination of Ecclesiastes. And I will put the link to this book on Amazon in the description below as an additional resource for you if you wish.